1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the joke that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, hate and love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up, so here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. It is December 29th, 2022. My name is Zach Weber, and joining me today is toy collector Chris Porteous.
I enjoy steak at the Rainforest Cafe.
Yum, yum, yum. And we have KB Toys manager Joe Yazzo.
I too liked steak at the Rainforest Cafe, but with ketchup on it.
Oh, right. I'm glad misery loves company. And we have host of the Unbelievers Podcast, Rus Ryan.
What? Hello, Zack and Chris. And yes, it's, as far as the Rainforest Cafe, I'm stuck in the gift shop out front. I'm just looking around, play with the animatronics.
Russ just really likes the monkey that like rocks the bamboo tree back and forth over and over and over again.
It's spellbinding every time I go.
But yes, folks, we are here to talk about the concluding episodes of everybody's favorite dish at the Rainforest Cafe, Calrissian Andor. The character that there was some debate as to whether it was Chris or I who coined the phrase, maybe the second most boring character in the history of Star Wars beyond Poe Dameron. We are finally discussing a show that got, I think, slightly better, as I coined in the last episode, a good dessert at the Rainforest Cafe, because at least the last two episodes felt like Star Wars. It wasn't Star Wars version of The Wire combined with The West Wing. So, thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, I like the entire series. I know the steak at the Rainforest Cafe, but I think I've been ready for that. I know a lot of people fall on different sides of it, of wanting things this way or that way, and it never really falls in the middle like we want. But this did go a little too far trying to be the steak, but that was okay. I liked how it concluded. I know we're going to get really into it, but I enjoyed Andor. All right.
Yeah, give the guy a break. He enjoyed a good show. Like, don't be too hard on him now. Everybody's heard me waxing poetic about Andor. That's the best thing that Disney Star Wars has done. It's pretty much still my opinion on that. When we sort of look at the back half of the Andor episodes, you have the bridge episode 7 where Andor winds up in jail after he goes back home to Ferrix for a brief meeting with Marva there, and I'm glad they moved into 7 to sort of an offbeat, not part of an arc with 7, just so that I think it would have felt a little too formulaic if the whole 12 episodes was like 3 episode arcs that followed a very similar structure. So that sort of threw it off a little bit, and that was good. But just generally, like, everybody, it's old news by this point, but the prison arc is you. If you would have told me that he spends 3 episodes in jail just in the synopsis, I would have been like, could that get more boring? But in execution, it doesn't feel that way. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and just even from everything from design to Andy Serkis giving an actual decent performance in a Star Wars property, like this had everything I wanted.
I'm going to deduct 5 points simply because he does not get cut in half toward the end of his thing.
There's time.
Well, we don't know where he's going to end up.
He doesn't swim.
I have a feeling we may see him again.
He doesn't swim, so he's not.
Yeah, we don't need to swim. He's going to say something like that.
I think what they're going to do is in like the Ahsoka show, she's going to come back and he's going to still be in there. And I think that would be a great tie-in. He's
like Gollum. He's been in there for like 6 months in the empty jail.
He's going to be like, my precious, you've come back.
No, but that isn't. Aren't fans on the internet so annoying. It's like the first thing everyone wants to talk about is, oh my gosh, did Kino die? He's dead. Is he not dead? And they're asking Tony Gilroy about it, making Tony Gilroy comment on whether Kino is alive or dead. It's like, could you guys like watch the show? Like, he's meant to be dead, and if he's not dead. If he's not dead, it's a problem narratively. Like, he should be dead. Like, the whole point is that he's dead. And you have these people who are like, oh, are we done with Andy Serkis in this? What do you mean? After he gave like a 10 times better performance than Snoke, are we done with him? Are you guys worried that we're done with him after that amazing 3 episodes? Get over it. He died.
All these Wookiees are dead.
I love the part on some of these other sites that they're like, well, we now know where Snook comes from. I was like, they clone the guy from a prison facility. So he can be cut in half.
We have found the perfect candidate. This super old, bitter guy who was didn't really know what he was doing out there until the very last minute.
Palpatine gets to the prison planet and he's like, you stayed. I'm going to take you and clone you.
Yeah, well, he found out that he's Sheev's like cousin once removed, so he was a good genetic match. But honestly, like, wow, the fact that was even a conversation, terrible. The fact that people are worried about whether he's alive or dead, terrible. But the arc itself, amazing, and he did a great job. Like, you just believe that he has a history that makes sense. Unlike asking yourself why his previous character was there in the first place at all. It's really remarkable. I don't know, Zach, so if you like the last 2 episodes, I'm guessing the prison arc for you was just not up your alley either, huh?
It's the final episode of the prison arc was fun because like watching them like plan their escape and they like have all this things, like watching him like trying to like cut the hose in the bathroom. I appreciated that for what it was. But again, like I was rewatching parts of 11 and 12 today, and like watching Calrissian Andor and Melshi, and you have like the weird like buffoon aliens and the quad jumper, and I'm like, this is what Star Wars is. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm glad that y'all like steak at the Rainforest Cafe, but like, I want Goofy. Like, I want my somehow Palpatine returned. I want my goofy little aliens by their campfire and their like little gooey nets that like I don't know what they're doing there. They have like their ship there as like bait, and they're just waiting for someone to try to like steal their ride. And it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, no, we hate Empire too. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, Empire bad. Blah, 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 blah. And then like ship flies away. And I'm like, I don't know. Like it was almost like holiday special level, like incomprehensible. Like, I guess it's good visual storytelling, but like I was amused nonetheless. It wasn't watching a bunch of men in jumpsuits build parts of the Death Star for like an hour and a half.
They were clearly fishermen, as far as I'm concerned, Zach.
Is that what it is? They were fishing above water. They were fishing on the ground.
Weren't they right beside like a weird pool of some kind?
Well, I know, like they were something. Like that's the thing. Like it
was like a creek bed or something like that. It seemed like they were in a canyon almost.
Well, yeah. Like the whole thing is that, like, I guess like the Empire's like draining like the water from like their small little like lakes and ponds. But like that's the thing I like. It's just so inexplicable, and just it's a means to an end of getting Calrissian Andor off the planet. It's not this whole, I don't want to call Andor pretentious, but relative to other Star Wars things, it feels pretentious. And I liked it when it's, again, going back to what Star Wars is supposed to be, pulpy space nonsense. Like even the whole thing with Luthen and the escaping the tractor beam, that was great. Like I want more Star in my Star Wars.
Yeah, that really, I don't think that really got me going. I know you guys had discussed it briefly, talking about, there was a bit of outrage about a continuous laser, but when that part happened, I mean, that whole sequence is great. And I don't know who else just immediately recognizes that ship as Macquarie art, as like some of the original Star Destroyer art that had just ridiculous radars on the front. I know we see a piece of that in Rogue One.
It's Colin Cantwell, not Macquarie.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, it's definitely pre-production art of it, but yeah, I've recognized that ship immediately, and I was like, oh, they made it actually make sense, because if all the ships look like that, it would have looked stupid. But having that one that does that, I love that.
Yeah, and it's nice because it was going to appear in Solo, but I guess it got cut out or it's in there for like 5 seconds or something. And, Colin Cantwell, interesting dude, made like he made models of the ships before Macquarie was brought on board, and Lucas actually brought them to like pitch meetings at Fox and stuff. And if you Google them, they're pretty wild looking versions of the X-Wing and TIE Fighter and the Death Star and maybe a Y-Wing and this Star Destroyer. And he like... He passed away maybe a year or two ago, but he had like a 2 or 3 year sort of resurgence recently where he was hitting conventions and stuff and having a lot of good, wholesome interactions with fans. So it's cool to see that actually used prominently in something.
I see he's very Batman. It was like almost like like your picture of Michael Keaton driving the Batmobile, pulling off some kind of thing, doing that. He's got these weird missiles that can shoot this part out and do this. It's very, very versatile little thing he has there, that ship.
Isn't that ship basically like a space tugboat? Like, isn't that the whole point of it, or am I just reading into it?
I don't know. It reminds me a lot of the Fallen Order ship without a giant pointless sail attached to it.
Oh my god, the Mantis, Chris, the Mantis.
Good old space sails and Dooku.
So, but yes, that I think I have all of Andor. Episode 11 was my favorite. 12 is again fine conclusion. It does exactly what it needs to do. It's fine. It's serviceable. It puts all the pieces into place for the next season. I really just don't know how they go from, I know it's supposed to be another 4 3-episode arcs for season 2, and each of them is like a year leading toward like a direct connection to like Rogue One, and we're going to see Calrissian Andor and K2SO go to save Jyn Erso. So I don't know how they're going to sit there like completely build the rebellion in basically, I don't know, 10 hours of content.
Yeah, but they're going to be skipping years, so it shouldn't be that hard.
Well, but no, I don't mean that like in a way as in like, how are they going to fill this out? I mean quite the opposite of that. I'm like, again, Steak at the Rainforest Cafe, but again, there is content here. It reminds me of a lot of like what Rebels did, where it was like the end of season 3 finale of Rebels. It's like, oh, we're going to Yavin, and it's like, oh, we're already there.
I got to double check that, but like, is Yavin base already like set up when they show up there, or is that like the beginning of it?
I don't know, but like that was the whole thing of Rebels season 3 was like Kanan was blind, Ezra was more or less a Jedi at this point, and season 3 took place on I forget what planet it was called. It was a planet with the Bendu and all of that, where Thrawn comes and like tries to like pretty much like wipes them all out, and then like it ends with I don't know if Mon Mothma's there on the ship with them, but like it's Zeb, Rex, and all them. It's like, oh, we're going to Yavin, and it felt so like, oh, like we went from like, oh, there's like these 6 people who are just causing chaos in the Empire, to season 2 is Vader, Maul, all of this, and then like season 3, obviously Maul is dead, Thrawn is kind of still floating out in the ether because he hasn't been taken off the board yet. And it's like, oh, we're going straight to Yavin. And it's like, I don't know. Like this for a time period they just won't get out of for many reasons. They always are rushing the let's get to Yavin. It's like like after all this stuff with like Anton Krieger and Saw Gerrera and all of that, like they keep mentioning all these multiple factions. Can we spend time with these multiple factions as opposed to just running to Yavin as fast as we can? Because I recognize that.
It feels like there's a lot to fold into how this is supposed to conclude, leading basically up to New Hope, right? The fact that all this stuff is set up with Mon Mothma, is that going to be like quick? I mean, they're going to have to do some kind of time jumps or something. Are they going to fold Darth Maul in? Is he around?
He is alive. He is alive during this time period.
And so Han Solo.
Yeah, it's just too much for people. They can't do that. People will die.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You've got these 2 wildly different tones going on at the exact same time. If you look at the Rebels timeline and where this is, and it's like same people doing completely different, attitudes towards things. It's going to be interesting.
Because even in Rebels, there's the whole thing where like Saw hijacks like their communication, and there's like a giant hologram of him like arguing with Mon Mothma on Yavin. Like this is like, I know Chris both loves and hates the fact that like this is all within the same time period as like Roken and Kenobi and Solo. Like it's all like in a matter of a couple of years of each other. But it is like, as much as these things are tonally night and day from each other, they are all like basically shoulder rubbing distance apart.
It's getting confusing. So wait, the events of Kenobi have taken place already before what we're seeing now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to imagine, okay, I guess it would happen years earlier. Right.
But that's the thing, like, pretty much in your 19-year time span between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, like, Solo, oh god, Rogue One, Kenobi, like, you have all this happening.
Kenobi and Solo are pretty much the exact same time, and
yes,
and season 1 of Andor is several years after that.
Mm-hmm.
For those confused in the audience.
Wait, so Alden Ehrenreich is like the same size as okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, we saw an arranged marriage that seems way more consensual than that at this point. Okay.
We have Kira. Kira's still running around.
I would say that is actually how I met my wife. That was a very relatable scene. Who's Harrison Ford married to now? I want to see that age difference in pictures too.
Calista Flockhart?
Yeah. What's that? How big of a difference are we talking about?
He's 80, so even though she's 20 years younger than him, she's still a senior citizen at this point.
Fair enough, Chris. Fair enough. Oh my god. So okay, obviously, like, I don't care about Andor. Does anybody have we talked on the record about the Indiana Jones 5 trailer?
I don't think on the record.
Chris, what do you think of Indiana Jones in the nursing home?
It's going to be bland. It's going to be like rye bread. It's going to get the job done. It's not
so
going to
many
offend
food analogies.
Yeah, it's not going to offend anyone.
Are you sure about that?
It's not going to. Well, it might. I don't know. I think at this point, like the old man's like Crystal Skull is not my Indianapolis Jones. Those guys will be
dead.
Very happy with very dead or very happy with a bland offering. So so I think they'll. I think I will be one of the few people who's disappointed by it. That's what I think.
Rus?
I don't think a lot of people are super jazzed about Indiana Jones anymore. I mean, I know I have just because I really, I mean, of course, always been big Harrison Ford fan in Indy Jones. But I don't know. Maybe I'm gauging this wrong. And you did mention it, but you guys were speculating about the trailer a while ago. And you were talking to something about how his own timelines can get erased and there's time travel or something like that.
I'm so glad you brought it up, Russ, because that was like a rumor on the internet that like, the movie was alleged, because again, this Indiana Jones movie also had like Rogue One level reshoots where they basically like reshot 3/4 of the film.
They've been making this since the 70s almost. Like they've been
practically
since he talked about Force Awakens. The whole deal was like, well, Harrison Ford is going to come back and do Force Awakens because he wants his last shot at Indy. And that's 5 years ago.
This movie was supposed to come out in July 2019. Like let's all put that in perspective. But no, they delayed this movie over a year because they had to reshoot like the vast majority of it. And the rumor was that like he like erases himself from like continuity, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge L337 like takes over as a new Indiana Jones. And after the trailer came out, like the director
but the main difference with her is that she says nothing belongs in a museum.
Somewhere there's like a marketing executive at Disney's like, yes, hit all the buzzwords all at once.
I am no museum.
But no, the funny thing is that like that rumor has been very persistent on the internet, and like James Mangold, a director, like not since Rian Johnson and like the fallout of The Last Jedi have I seen a like Disney like director be like just like attacking trolls on the internet, which is fine. Like you can do whatever you want on social media, but I've never seen someone become so like defensive and indignant about like, this was never supposed to happen. He was never. It's like, if it's a rumor and this had no basis in reality, why are you so passionate on commenting against it? Like it clearly has struck a chord. And I find it fascinating that like usually you don't become so indignant to a rumor unless it has some sliver of truth.
Not only that, but if it has some sliver of truth, it's likely to come out these days at some point. Like even the Force Awakens art book says that George Lucas wanted Darth Maul and Darth Talon to be the sequel trilogy arch nemesis, and it's like that's the official art of Force Awakens. So there's some weird stories that they don't cover up, and like that's just to someone who's not passionate about the subject, that's a relatively inconsequential plot beat.
It would have been interesting to see someone else take a stab at being an actual Sith master, you never really got to see that. It turns out the whole time, somehow Palpatine was always that. It would have been interesting to see someone else have to make that full journey into the Lord of the Sith, not just
Well, that's what the Acolyte is supposed to be, like the beginnings of like the Sith like coming back. That's what that's supposed to be, is the idea of like the evil brewing.
Yet they're definitely going to avoid as many Jedi as possible so that Mace Windu can say that they have, or Ki-Adi-Mundi can say they haven't been seen for like 1,000 years or something. So, they have to basically kill every Jedi they run into before he calls the old folks home.
Never mind, too. Even, Darth Maul being like, we'll finally reveal ourselves to the Jedi. So, I don't know, man. It's, I don't know, but like, okay, going back to Russ's comment about the idea of like Palpatine being the only like evil space wizard. How do you out evil space wizard Palpatine? Like, how do you be an evil space wizard and like not do what Palpatine is? Like Chris, in Star, again, you like Knights of the Old Republic. Like, is that what Darth Malak is? Like another evil space wizard that...
What's interesting about Darth Malak and Revan is that they were Jedi. That's an angle that hasn't really like been explored on screen yet as far as a Sith Lord. That's kind of interesting.
I'm just asking. It's like, I don't know. How do you outdo Palpatine? How do you do a different spin on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's not what I said is not accurate. Obviously, Dooku was a Jedi, but Dooku seems like he was made up in 5 minutes. And then you have this lovely backstory that was filled in over the years. But I like, as far as his first appearance in Attack of the Clones, he really seems like he was made up over the weekend. But oh
man, Russ is holding up a lunchbox to the camera. Looks like he's giving a thumbs up there. Like that's how it looks like. If you didn't know what you were looking at.
He's agreeing with you.
Like it looks like Dooku's just like giving a thumbs up as you're trying to eat your lunch as a kid.
He's pointing the finger and giving the...
He's trying to eat me.
You.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants
Dooku.
you.
Oh my god.
You can't really outspace Wizard Palpatine. Palpatine was the genesis of the Sith right there in the first 3 movies.
It's true. I did feel that they were trying to do that in the sequel trilogy, though. When we saw Snoke and all that, we're like, "Oh, there's another big wizard in our front yard. Look at this." I've never said big wizard before. That's all. I couldn't think of what to say next. But
well, the one thing that was on the internet before, right after the Rise of Skywalker about Snoke was, people were saying he was Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis never really died. That would have been a nice angle too.
Think they still got that in their back pocket? They can still pull that out whenever they want?
Lawrence Kasdan and JJ didn't know who Darth Plagueis was. They didn't watch episode 3.
Well, they watched it. They didn't. I don't think they really paid attention, but
they did not take notes.
Yeah, man, that the sequel hate really did come back to bite a lot of stuff. They did. It was really... I mean, the prequel hate really did bite into a lot of that stuff that affected everything we watch now. And then they realize when they do go back to it, and they're like, people are like, "Oh, they react great." It's like, yeah, the people that like grew up liking that, they enjoy it, and they're not of that generation that wanted to crap on it and everything, like all the Lucas documentaries and all that you guys were talking about recently.
Yeah, that's the one thing is when it's very hard to look back when you've already seen what happens supposedly next, especially with the prequels. That was a gamble from the start, because all it was rumors and little side stories, and it's stuff to make things work for the first 3 movies. I don't think in essence it was supposed to be fleshed out, I
guess, but you didn't need to have Yoda and Sidious dueling in the middle of the Senate chambers, throwing buildings at each other for it to work for the original 3 movies. Like, that was some exciting stuff, Joe. I don't know if you appreciate that in retrospect, but like, especially like the last like 30 minutes of episode 3 is like some of the most absurd stuff ever put to digital 1080p film.
It's nice to look at, but you sit there and you look at the time, what movie wasn't doing that?
It's true, but I think it was also Lucas looking at it as like, this is it. This is the final thing I'm probably going to make, live action Star Wars, and I've got to close this out right. I've been getting crapped on for the last 6 years for all this. Like, wait till you see this. Fine, is this what you want? But I think it turned out great. And I know we were recording this after Christmas. I'm sure a few of us got some interesting Star Wars related Christmas stuff. I got something I wanted to bring up. It was a set of Star Wars mugs, and there's 6 mugs. And you look and you see, Empire. I'm like, oh, this must be the art of the original 6 movies. It's a perfect set you can get, right? 6 mugs, and there's Empire, there's New Hope, there's Return of the Jedi, there's another Empire one, I think that's a New Hope too, and then Revenge of the Sith, like the movie poster. I'm like, just put episode 2 and 1 in there. It was right there. And I actually glanced at it when I got it. I was like, great, all the movies. I didn't really look at it until later, but man.
What licensee is that? That's so funny because it's like that got approved, so it's like them acknowledging like that basically after the original trilogy people care about episode 3.
And it says a comic book pack. They're mugs. It's very confusing. Yeah, whoever packaged this, I'll have to show that to you guys.
It might be also bootleg.
I think you guys like to think, yeah, I'm getting a lot of people give me a lot of bootleg Star Wars stuff.
What is with you and Rus and buying bootleg like food Star Wars merchandise?
People give me a lot of stuff that looks very bootlegged. It's not. I'll swear it's all on the level. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. People are buying stuff for me at swap meets. Yeah,
Rus is going to the flea market, just buying whatever Star Wars cooked.
They're at the swap meet. Oh yeah, we'll get some for Rus here. What's this? Space battles? That looks like it.
I mean, that would be something. Like that would be exciting. I didn't get any good Star Wars stuff.
Chris, is there any loved one or family or friend that could buy you a Star Wars thing that A, you don't already have, and B, that's the thing. If you were, it's the same trap that I imagine a lot of people fall into, like being a Star Wars fan. Most people just give up and be like, they have everything they already want. And if I get them something, it's either going to be a redundancy or something they don't want.
Or like, just like a trash thing. They're like, oh, I know they wouldn't buy this because this is stupid.
Exactly.
So I know he doesn't have this. He has good stuff. He'll like these Wookiee slippers.
I did get one thing that like is actually sort of bootleg that was kind of cool, but like basically so there's this guy in the UK named Andrew Ainsworth, and he produced the Stormtrooper costumes for A New Hope, and he was like selling like casts he made of the helmets in the UK. 20th Century Fox like sued him, and they're like, you can't sell that stuff. You don't own the copyright to that. You can't be like producing Stormtrooper helmets and selling them. So he like took them to court, and the Stormtrooper costume was deemed an industrial design. So this guy's allowed to sell products with Stormtroopers on them in the UK and Canada, but not in the US. So like around Christmas time, you get a lot of weird stuff like at the drugstores that have like Stormtroopers like on hot sauce and like flavor syrup for coffee and like pancake, like a pan shaped like a Stormtrooper head, and it can't say Star Wars on it anywhere, but it's like a Stormtrooper like just giving a thumbs up, like holding a hot sauce or something. So I got some Stormtrooper hot sauces that are in glass bottles shaped like Stormtrooper heads that you can't buy in America because that's how the lawsuit went down.
Oh, come on, you got to get some of those over the border. I need this. I love hot sauce too. This is a perfect gift. I love this. It made me think. I remember. I guess it's thrown off because there was a Darth Vader involved too. But there was this weird catalog that I can remember looking at during the dark times. We're talking like the early '90s, and there was no Star Wars stuff going on at all. But it was called "Things You Never Knew Existed" catalog. It also used to be called the Johnson Smith Company a long time ago, and it's just all the pranks and gags and just garbage, but through catalog, pre-internet actual catalogs. But I remember the one thing they did have was Stormtrooper helmets and Darth Vader helmets. And I don't know why. And they were pricey, but it's not something you saw at the time. This was definitely during those dark times where things like that wouldn't be produced. So hearing that a guy could just get away with making Stormtrooper stuff, maybe go, maybe that guy just licensed his helmet out to be sold in this catalog.
Maybe
there wasn't a Vader. It might have just been a Stormtrooper in some of them.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know when he first got in trouble for that, but the ones he was doing were like from the original molds for A New Hope. So they would have been like basically production accurate, probably better looking actually, because you look at some of the ones in A New Hope and they're pretty beat up and like they got tape on them and stuff. Like they didn't fare very well. But what you might have seen if it was a Vader also is, and if you look it up, you'll probably recognize it. But there were, I believe it was Dawn Post had like the sort of the high end equivalent of like a Halloween costume mask for like from 83, and I think they were produced through the 90s. They're about $100.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it probably was around that. It was something you looked at as a kid and were like, wow, because when there was nothing Star Wars around and you were still into it, seeing something like that really stood out, actually made you excited. I got to think also, what about that prop from Revenge of the Nerds, that Vader mask that guy wears at the big thing at the end? Do you guys remember that, where one of the Nerds characters is dressed as like a knockoff Vader mask? Has any collector ever found that knockoff mask?
I gotta double check what it looks like, but the Dawn Post one's pretty identifiable just because its proportions are a little off and like the top piece is a little small, and it was actually used for everyone who remembers the Power of the Force 2 figures. A photo of it was used for the Vader that's on the card back of the Power of the Force 2 cards, and it just looks just a little bit off, like they airbrushed it but the proportions are off. So like that shows you, even in like, you wonder how Hot Toys Palpatine ends up on an episode 9 poster. Well, they were using a picture of a disproportionate Halloween mask for the Power of the Force 2 card backs.
If anyone, there's a lack of pictures of Darth Vader, of any from the film or behind the scenes, anything. That is crazy. Yeah, so that makes total sense that kind of thing would slip through. God, I forgot about that Hot Toys poster.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I mean, the intention tonight was to talk about Andor. Zack obviously doesn't like it because he hates awesome, fun things, and I'm saying that partially.
He waited to distract us to go save his friend who had some kind of weird space slug screaming in their ear before it died. Now, we can get back to Andor and we'll get a little bit with that. That was something. I know torture is always a part of Star Wars. If you think about it, especially the original movies, there's probably a torture scene in most Star Wars films. Even in Return of the Jedi, a droid is getting tortured. Han gets tortured. Leia's tortured. Rey is tortured by Kylo Ren. But not a lot of torture in the prequels. But we get torture scenes in this, and which a very complicated way.
Yeah, it's not. I don't find it gratuitous though. Like, of course, the exposition of what she's actually listening to is sort of gratuitous and horrifying, but like they don't actually subject the audience to it, and that was really smart to me because nothing you could put in the soundtrack is going to generate the amount of terror that's visible on her face because the audience is listening to it themselves. So they're like there'll be an unavoidable reaction of, what's the big deal? I could listen to this all day, as off-putting as it is. I wouldn't be screaming. You know what I mean? So they, if you look at it that way, they couldn't really show you what it was. But
they learned from Bor Gullet. They're like, let's not show it. Let's just like imply that a lot's going on, and we don't need. When are we going to see Bor Gullet's origin? We could probably see that, huh? You think Andor's got a mission? He's got to go find a Bor Gullet?
I just think it's like I guess they say it at some point, but I guess Saw is not on Jeddah, even though his hideout looks like virtually identical to his Jeddah hideout. Like,
wait, that's not the same place?
I don't think it is.
It's not where he comes out at the end where everything's blown. Man, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It looks real similar, but I don't think they wanted to like connect it to Jeddah that early because it's still like five years out or something, right?
Yeah. I don't know the lifespan of a Bor Gullet, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah. You ever think it's like, I don't know, the last time I watched Rogue One, which was like after I finished watching Andor, it struck me as very strange that Saw has set up shop like 5 miles from occupied Jeddah City, and he's got like X-Wings like parked outside and stuff. And like,
yeah, we've learned that the Empire is pretty good at scanning the areas, especially where there's important stuff going on. There's definitely a lot of important stuff going on in Jeddah. We're getting maybe. Well, it's a few years later. Maybe they're just the Empire's pulled a little tighter. They've learned their lesson.
He didn't even put sheets over the X-Wings or anything. It's interesting, but he can see the Jeddah City blowing up from his window. It's pretty straightforward. But I don't know, like I was saying when me and Zack talked about it a little bit last recording, but like the big thing for me is like this show sort of reveals that either it's by design that they don't sort of manage each of these productions so they all sort of play out the same way, and they sort of trust directors to like do their thing, or they like, I don't know, like, it's just, it's so weird to me, the way the way this was handled versus like Obi-Wan and the Book of Boba Fett, right? I feel like the Book of Boba Fett, we shouldn't even be referring to it as a show, because it's really like they wanted to just do
an acid trip that came on. Yeah,
like they wanted to just do like 2 episodes of The Mandalorian about Boba Fett, but they thought that'll be too weird of a detour. Let's just call it something else. That's what it seems like to me. So I guess it's not a fair comparison, but like for the Obi-Wan show, it's like, it's just, and this would have started production around the same time or before that even, I think. And so it's just interesting sort of how it was either not obvious to them how this was being done so differently, or they didn't mind.
Yeah, they seem to get a lot more hands-on with when they worried about the films. You hear all about the rewrites and the reshoots and the directors having to be replaced and set back. They seem to have a lot more confidence coming out of Mandalorian with all this. Like, they haven't failed yet. And they're like, well, whatever they're doing, let them do it. They obviously know. They really trusted Favreau, and it paid off amazingly. They're making. I mean, Baby Yoda is still everywhere you go.
Yeah,
he's not going away ever.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, could you imagine if I think what you just said explained it to me, because them forcibly removing Deborah Chow from the Obi-Wan show during production would have been, from a optic standpoint, the like worst possible thing they could have done. So maybe that's really what it comes down to. Like, they just sort of had to see how it played out and hope that most people don't notice, which I think ended up being true.
Well, it all comes down to, they actually had a story behind it instead of really cool scenes that they wanted to put on a show. And you sit there and you look at these different shows. When you go back to Book of Boba Fett, you go back to Obi-Wan Kenobi, you could tell which ones they really wanted to show. And those were the showcase ones, the ones where people were like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. It did have this and it did have this. And then they threw a lot of rocks. But you sit there and look at Andor, it looks like it was a story, and they're telling a story. It's not just
we're just in the middle of it too. With Boba Fett too, it kind of felt like, well, what is the end? I mean, we don't know where Boba Fett is after this anyway. It's all blank canvas ahead as far as he goes. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know when is a stopping point for this. There could have been another episode of Boba Fett tacked on at the end. It would have kind of been like, I guess we have to still keep. There's probably something he has to still do, and there is, but I don't think we'll see it any more of it.
Well, it's just like this. You sit there and watch Christmas Vacation. All right. Everyone loves Cousin Eddie in Christmas Vacation. And then you sit there and give Cousin Eddie his own movie. And what happens?
They did that?
It's absolute nonsense, because he's supporting. Yeah, they did. It's the second one. They actually have it. You could actually sit there and probably get it for free online. Christmas Vacation.
Is Randy Quaid in it? I've never heard of this.
Yes. Christmas Vacation 2. Uncle Eddie's Tropical something.
See, Joe, the problem with you bringing that up is A, I'm interested in it and I will look into it now. But B, you're highlighting for Zach that
Zach,
how little
Joe's making up movies.
That's the Ed Asner movie.
Oh no!
What Ed Asner movie?
What?
Isn't Ed Asner in Vacation 2 or Christmas Vacation 2?
I don't think he is.
I'm pretty sure Ed Asner is in that. It's like they're on an island, right?
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Like, I can corroborate its existence. I've seen clips of it, but never in its entirety.
Yeah. Well, I was afraid you were going to take the fact that we were talking about Christmas Vacation 2, which may or may not exist, as a sign.
Is this an earnest movie you may be getting confused with? Like, is Jim Varney on an island, maybe? It's Christmas time for some reason.
It's probably one of those like very early, because Joe, it came out like 10, 15 years ago. Like, it's not new.
I think it was a direct to video too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like, this is like, it's, oh god, like the Warner Brothers equivalent of like Cinderella 2 or like Lady and the Tramp 2. It's
just when
exploiting a brand.
Well, yes, but National Lampoon also would just also lend their name out to whatever they want to. And now this probably is one of their more direct ones, but there are some terrible. There was a time where you could just buy for I don't know, 40 grand or something, buy the or something like that. You could buy the rights to just call your movie National Lampoon something. And there's a terrible one called One Too Many, starring stuttering John Melendez, one of the worst entries to the National Lampoon series you can imagine.
All that to say, Andor season 1 is really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen Christmas Vacation too?
I would sooner watch Jingle All the Way 2 or Ace Ventura 3.
Oh my! There's an Ace Ventura 3
in name only.
Oh my god!
Well, yeah, it's like a kid or something, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I know that's real. We'll verify that. But Andor goes back to the beach though, because he has to go back and get his briefcase with his cool gun and everything else he needed. But that alien in that scene, I have a question for this. So is that one of the aliens? I know it's probably a Scanlan alien, but isn't that one of the aliens that replaced one of the Cantina aliens? Didn't that replace the Wolfman? That alien that's sleeping in Andor's old cabana? It had like a tendrily mouth to it and everything. It looked like something you saw actually in the special edition Cantina.
I'm pretty sure that's just a Scanlan alien, one of the less reprehensible Scanlan aliens.
I don't know. I think it's Lucas. It reminds me of the thing that replaced the Wolfman in one of the in one of the scenes when they quote unquote improved the Cantina scene.
I mean, they really didn't do that much to it. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe you could maybe they, for whatever reason that day Lucas woke up on the wrong side of the bed and he decided all these aliens are perfect except that werewolf guy. I don't know what I don't like him. I don't like the cut of his jib this morning, so we're gonna just film.
Sir, we just released a figure of him too. It's a Power of the Force 2 now.
Even better.
And I mean, the alien they replaced him with is not even like CGI or anything. And like, I think you can probably find a video of this, but like, it's literally just a different Cantina alien, but they like put the mask on like upside down and put a hat on him, and it's like. It's already existing Cantina alien that's like backwards, and that's the one they replaced with the Wolfman. It's pretty criminal.
It just stood out because there is a very much a lack of aliens in this series at all. So what they do stand out, and I get it, Zach. Those two guys on the creek bed were great, and this guy was good. I like that little alien sleeping too. You barely saw anything in this. You didn't even see that pink Rhodian at all.
There is, I think it's somewhere on, Ferrix. There's the hookah smoking alien from The Force Awakens from Maz Kanata. He's like chilling in the background. He is present.
Yeah, Neil Scanlan aliens don't count, obviously. They're not even aliens. They're like weird, like modern Muppets or something. I don't know. They're JJ verse aliens.
All the Cantina aliens are too busy being in Rebels in the same scene to keep being in every scene running around.
Yeah, and the Bad Batch. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, Bad Batch coming.
Joe, how excited are you for the Bad Batch season 2?
That's how excited I am.
Are we to assume you're actually going to not watch it?
I'll still watch it so I can poke fun at it.
Okay.
But
he's gonna hate watch it.
It'll be a job, not a passion to watch.
There was like 30 minutes of the Bad Batch season 1 that was like thoroughly entertaining, for sure. At least.
Like, okay. Oh god, because what? Bad Batch is what now? Like a year and a half old, approximately?
Yeah, they just had too much other stuff.
I feel like 10 years old. It seems like a lot has actually come out in between, even though maybe it hasn't.
Because what? Since Bad Batch, we got what?
Book of Boba Fett.
Oh god, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Andor, Tales of the Jedi. Yeah.
Probably Mando season 2, right? Was it even during that?
No, Mandalorian season 2 was before that.
It was maybe directly before, yeah.
Because I think the Mandalorian stopped and then the Bad Batch took over after it.
Yeah, Bad Batch, I guess, I don't know. Like, if Bad Batch could be interesting if, like, how far they ride the, like, I know, like, what Commander Cody's going to show up in this is, like, a prominent character, supposedly. And that could be interesting, seeing that whole dynamic play out. Just the idea of a high, like, I don't want to say a high ranking, but a clone commander having to do something as opposed to like what we got a couple of them last season. They're like, what was it, Hauser? That was the one that was like, no, men, stand down. This is wrong. And like that was one episode. And then you had like the whole Mount Tarvis thing of oh god, what's her name? What's the Kaminoan that's the cloning scientist lady?
Mama Sue.
Tonwi?
No,
it's neither of those. It's the one other one. There's only 3, and it's the one other one. But yeah, I don't remember the name either.
It's the one that you guys didn't name of the 3. Process elimination, and it's like what the clone commandos like escorting her like into Mount Tarvis for them to like clone. Oh god, what's his name? Chris from Heir to the Empire. Oh god, speaking of evil space wizards again.
Prince Caesar? I don't know.
No, it's the guy with the guy with the long beard on the cover. I forget his name.
Exarchun.
I can see the name, but I can't pronounce it. There's a C apostrophe in there somewhere.
Joth Kabora or something like that.
I feel really bad.
Chris, can you know what? Chris loves his legends. Chris, please describe the character of Luke without laughing. Thank you, Joe, for proving the point immediately. But continue, Chris.
Imagine if in a Star Wars sequel they just brought back Palpatine, but he's a clone. That's what Luke is like.
You mean Luke?
Yeah, and they put a second U in his name just so they didn't have to give him a different name, but the readers would know which one they were talking about.
But he's evil because of the extra U.
That is the most comic booky thing I think Star Wars might have ever tried to pull off, even in Legends.
But even that's what Dark Empire was when they like everybody gets mad at the Rise of Skywalker, but they cloned Palpatine in the comics. Like none of this is new. Like we can get mad at JJ for ripping off like other schlock, but we can't at least like you can't blame him for originating it. He's not that clever.
Yeah, except for at the start of Dark Empire, the writer's like, listen, I know this is stupid, but just tolerate it, and I'm sure when they finally get around to making movies about this, it'll be way better.
Cut to 25 years later.
So you come crawling back to the Dark Empire now, and I guess Disney owns all that if they ever get desperate enough. But I don't think anyone's going to care about the point they would get that desperate.
Well, they respect the fact that they own it enough to republish it and sell it more for the people who actually like reading decent things.
Yeah, like some of the repackages of things I've seen as far as some of the Legend stuff goes. They do a pretty good job of keeping it out there, too. It's not like they just threw it all in a vault or burnt it all. They pump it out.
Yeah, I saw a new omnibus of in every single comic of Tales of the Jedi. That's pretty tempting. Because I don't like reading the individual issues, which I have them, but that's a pain to read actual comics. You just damage them anyway.
You got to take them out of that poly bag and make sure the tape doesn't stick to the back, and it sticks on the back, and you rip it. And you're like, why did I don't care. It's probably stupid anyway. Now it's not worth anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Tales of the Jedi show has seen to the fact that those comics are not worth anything. But it wasn't a bad show, but it was because of the fact that it's a completely different interpretation. It's really not related in name only, so they didn't really have much to do with it.
I have a question for you guys, though, because there's I try to keep up with Star Wars as much as I can, of course, but there's something coming out coming soon that I know you mentioned the Acolyte. I know there's a few other things on the horizon. One, I have no idea what it is at all, and please enlighten me. There's a few new shows coming out. I every time I see the name, I'm like, is that a show? What is this? And I feel terrible that I brought this up and I can't bring up the name, but it's not Acolyte and it's not Skeleton Crew. Yep. What is Skeleton Crew? I know nothing about it. I keep seeing it on things like this is coming soon. Skeleton Crew. Does anyone know what this is?
It's a children's program.
Not.
Oh.
No.
It's called Skeletons to scare them?
It's like Mystery Science 3000.
No. Oh my
God. All that name.
Okay. Joe's just, stating falsehoods, and Chris is being cynical. Skeleton Crew is basically going to be Star Wars' equivalent of Stranger Things. Look at it that way. It's Disney showing up to the party 10 years later being like, we've got him this time, guys.
Is it live action?
Yes. It's Jude Law. Jude Law is your adult protagonist, but it's going to be a bunch of kids. It's a coming of age story for a bunch of Star Wars, peoples.
I hope Ahmed Best is like a Jedi in it. That'd be great.
It's gonna be Star Wars Goosebumps.
I wish. We already have Star Wars Goosebumps. It's called Galaxy of Fear, and it's goofy as hell. But no, Russ, Skeleton Crew is one of those things. Like it's oh god, John Watts of contemporary Spider-Man movie fame is like producing it. It's his baby, relatively speaking.
It just seems like it's such an outlier, but it definitely I've been starting to see the ad campaign kind of, it's just at least showing up to where I'm questioning what is this, but not having the effort. I actually just wanting to ask you guys what it was. And I'm loving that it's a children's show. It's this. Like I still have no idea what it's going to be, but it's
going to be like Obi-Wan basically. But yeah, but you know, I think we also had last week we had an announcement that Hera is being played by
the rumor the rumor now is Hera's gonna be a Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, I had seen an actress on that. Oh, that would have been a real slap to Ashley Eckstein if they're like, yeah, we got the other voice actress. You're like, what?
Well, it's not the first time.
Sorry, you're too young and pretty to play her, Ashley. Hee hee. She's like, I could have uglied it up a little.
So, but was that like a credible rumor, the casting for Hera?
It's Bespin Bulletin, which oh god, that was a while ago now, where I got attacked for questioning the validity. I would say it's like every other Star Wars rumor on the internet. Sure, like why not? We know a Mary Elizabeth Winstead is doing something in the Star Wars universe. I could see it happening. I think it's kind of like a non-announcement in that. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, again, talented actress. I like her in a handful of things, but I don't think she's any draw. It's kind of like it's a headline for like nerds on the internet for like 15 minutes, and it's like, and moving on. It's the equivalent of what was it, Costco Reeves? It was like, oh, Snoop Dogg's cousin is playing a character in The Mandalorian. It's like, okay, and like, in what impact does it have on anything? Nothing whatsoever.
Find out on SmackDown as Sasha Banks announces her return to the Star Wars Mandoverse.
Exactly. It's that. It's literally like a lead into something else.
Hardly a character. Ahsoka. I mean, Ahsoka's going to be. I think that's the what the rumor is for this Hera casting. You know, I think that knowing that we're going to have like a whole bunch of Hera, and it might have even reduced my excitement for it, which was already pretty low. I don't know. Hera's doesn't strike me as a I don't know. Never was a big fan of her during Rebels. She always seemed like she was sort of one of those characters,
the nerd, like
like overly cautious to the point where things could have played out better if not for her injecting herself into situations.
She's the only competent person in the room during Rebels when Sabine is not there.
I was about to say, what about Sabine? But I was going to say Chopper too. But
well, Chopper's like the homicidal pet dog.
Good character. I mean, probably the best character on that. Yes, the best character in there.
I remember right as The Force Awakens was coming out, there was like all these stupid memes where like, oh god, like when Kylo Ren turns around, he's told like a droid stole the freighter. And then it's like that week on Rebels, like Chopper stole a freighter. Like it was like that weird, like coincidental timing again, like the Rise of Skywalker with like Rey force healing along with a Big Whiskey force healing. Like that weird, like kind of like a broken clock is right twice a day sort of magic.
Like a few days before, like that Mando episode would come out on like Wednesday nights, and that movie came out on Friday. It was like that week's episode, so it was like, oh, this is so fresh. Maybe I'm remembering that correctly.
I find a real hard time believing that was actually coordinated.
You're telling me that somebody overheard somebody's idea for like a plot device, and they're like, that would be brilliant. Like JJ and Chris Terrio like wrote themselves into like an even deeper pitfall that they typically write themselves into. And they're like, how do we get them outside the snake pit?
I think it's just the fans, seeing Jesus in toast and like trying to draw connections where there are none, because it's like so many Star Wars specific things happen in both of those shows, and it's just like they're just drawing like it's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with the guy with all the strings, and like they're drawing fans draw connections where there are none. It's like they want to they want to believe that Kino's alive. Like, for God's sake.
We're going back to this now.
I'm gonna learn his name by the end of this too. This is great, and I love Andor, but I do have trouble with a lot of the character names. If you're not Luthen or Andor or
Bix,
Bix. I was going to say Binks. Thank you for, I know we're out of Halloween time. We don't think about Binks right now, but Bix and a few others. Marva.
Save Marva.
Save Marva.
She's a brick.
Zach's favorite part of the last episode, obviously.
Okay. We gotta touch upon that. Like the climax to Andor is a space hologram, literally just being like, punch the Nazis. It's like it's and like somebody like one of the Imperials just kicks over B2 Emo and like puts a coat on top of him. Like it's like that's where like again I like Star Wars when it's stupid. Like it's really coming down to that. Like it's so like juxtaposed to like everything else we've watched this entire series. Like you just literally have them kick over the droid and put a coat on top of him to cover the hologram.
Right? He would have totally shot him. He wouldn't have kicked him over. So ridiculous.
But that's what I mean. It's hysterical. Like it's so just like it's so clunky at times. And it makes it all the more jarring considering how like streamlined the rest of the show is.
I mean, but B Emo looks so like durable. Like I don't think shooting him would do anything. Definitely that blaster bolt is bouncing off and doing something. So I guess kicking him over. I love that little guy. I really need his. I don't get vintage collection. Put him out. I need that little trash can around. He reminds me so much of the Black Hole. It's like it went all the way around. The Black Hole ripped off Star Wars, and then Star Wars went all the way back and ripped off the Black Hole and got him back with an even better version of their stupid droid.
Yeah, those Black Hole, like when I watched that,
oh no.
On Disney Plus, you can watch it anytime you want. It's great.
Like just the way they did their eyes is so like $5. Like in that movie, it's just like
toilet paper rolls. It's totally terrible.
Yeah, like cool design sort of, but they just have like hand painted cartoon eyes on these droids. It's like, all right, I guess that their eyes look like 30s Mickey Mouse eyes, and they're just like painted on the front. They're like little Pac-Mans. I don't know.
It's hard to believe they tried to make a kids movie with Anthony Perkins and Ernest Borgnine and a droid and
zombies.
I remember pushed on me as a kid. I had all the storybooks and everything, but I was like, inexplicable. That's a Star Wars effect.
Yeah, but an army of zombie slaves as well. Like, don't forget.
Which okay, I have to ask. Speaking of the Black Hole, what is the most like misplaced emulation of like the success of Star Wars? Is it the Black Hole or is it Star Trek the motion picture? Like being like, we're going to try to emulate space fantasy movie and then like just be like, all people care about is the space. They don't care about the themes or just the tone or the pacing and just like doing science fiction with a capital SF.
I mean, a Black Hole came and went so quickly. Star Trek was already so known as kind of its return. And it was like, no, we like Star Wars because it wasn't, space talking. We like space fighting, not just trekking around. And trying to emulate that didn't really work because it already had two. I don't know. I've never been I like the old Star Trek series, I guess, but I never thought the movies were anything rewatchable.
And somehow Star Trek the Motion Picture has been mentioned 2 Nights of Vader podcasts in a row for some reason. And it's obviously that was like a bigger misstep, but it made enough for them to make sequels, and like Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 are like a lot closer to the feeling of like the sort of George Lucas type, like Indiana Jones, like A New Hope, like sort of structure where like it's a lot less in the weeds about its science fiction and it's just like more of a standard adventure story. And like those, I don't know, I love that the series of, I love the William Shatner Nimoy movies, but the first one's probably like doesn't really fit in with the rest. But obviously Black Hole is like the biggest fail out of all of that because its current existence in pop culture is like when NECA like puts out new figures of it or something. Like that's the heights it reaches these days.
But was someone who was even, just so familiar with it just because I was just happened to be at the right age to be getting these stupid storybooks and stuff, didn't care about the movie. I completely blocked out of my mind until I noticed it on Disney Plus again. I was like, oh yeah, the Black Hole. I remember all of this. I remember these stupid droids' names and everything, or robots, whatever they are. Oh.
Isn't one of them called Maximilian?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never seen the Black Hole in its entirety.
That's nuts. You should definitely do that. That'd be a good Cinemoddities or something.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, just get the whole Knights of Vader crew on there, trick them into to like it's just like Star Wars, guys. You'll love it. It's droids.
Ernest Borgnine, zombie warriors.
I will say that I did some research on Chris's Vacation too, and Ed Asner is indeed in it, along with Fred Willard.
Ernest Borgnine, Ed Asner, with the references in this. There's some classic 70s actors all being brought up tonight in this talk of Andor.
It came out in 2003, so like it's been around for like 20 years now, so ain't exactly like a novelty.
The fact that it hasn't become a holiday classic either, and people are still like over the moon about Christmas Vacation. That is definitely.
Well, come on, you need that Chevy Chase magic, Russ.
Oh yeah.
Well, it should be out. It should be out in stores, hopefully with the 20th anniversary DVD that it comes out.
There's a local. Well, I'm sure you guys have heard of
Best
Raising
Buy.
Cane's, the chicken. Have you heard of that?
What?
That chicken? There's a chain chicken restaurant called Raising Cane's. It's very big down here, but they use Chevy Chase in their marketing as Clarksmas during Christmas. Like there's all these signs everywhere with Chevy Chase on fried chicken signs.
No, this is the first I've ever heard about this, Russ.
No. Raising Cane's Clarksmas. It's been going on. Yeah, you can get you free dipping sauces for Clark.
Russ, you might as well live in another part of the world right now. You might as well
I'm
forget about the
eBay.
same country.
Getting on eBay right now.
Oh my god. So like what other okay, I will say that like Lucasfilm, like Star Wars news, I guess what? We have a hard release date for Jedi Survivor. So that's going to be what, 2 months from now, give or take?
Awesome. I will be buying it and playing it day one.
And well, you also have what? We had a new trailer for that isn't particularly like, it looks like, I don't know, that it's a very bad trailer. Like it doesn't really tell you anything about the game plot wise, other than just like, you're going to do things slightly different than what you did 3 years ago. Like it's still watered down Force Unleashed mechanics, but at least the story seems like not like the same thing we already went through the first game. It's not like a guy trying to pick himself up. It seems like, oh, this guy's like digging a hole into like weird space wizardry. And it's like, oh, and like he lets loose some guy who's been like locked away for thousands of years. Which
hopefully resulting in his inevitable death.
Or a new space wizard that we've been hoping for. We need a new space wizard arc.
But like, okay, this is the thing though. Like, does it like now with Ahsoka running around? Does it really matter that like there's other Jedi floating around? Like, if there were 10,000 of these people, and yes, even if there's more than just Obi-Wan and Yoda, does it matter if there's like 3 more floating out like in the ether? Does it really?
Yeah, it does. Here's the thing. The way I look at it now, it's like I just have to block Ahsoka out of my brain because what Andor versus Kenobi, what the people of Andor versus Kenobi has shown me is that you can't really hold all these things in your mind at the same time. You'll go insane because one has Roken and the other is good, and you can't. You'll literally just go insane. You'll go into rampancy if you try and imagine that all these things are happening at the same time. And really, it's just a matter of whether a particular creative team is like taking the content seriously and like honoring the lore or not. And Filoni is just off the rails. He's just doing lines off the desk, putting Ahsoka in everything. Ahsoka's God.
Space Jesus.
Yeah. And, Cal Calrissian is a little more reined in. And it's been a while. Like, we used to get, like, nonsense Jedi adventure video games all the time. Not just Force Unleashed. There's a bunch of other ones. And, it's, like, it's been long enough. I'm excited for this one. It's got a little bit of the plot's a little more nebulous at this point, which we know, like, the marketing for Fallen Order was so tied into the idea of Order 66 and the Purge Troopers sort of hunting down the Jedi with the Inquisitors. This, I really don't know what to expect. The trailer showed the introduction of some new characters, but we don't know a whole lot about them. I'm excited that I don't know where it's going.
But this is the thing though. Like going back to the point I brought up, is that like it also kind of bases off of like what Palpatine says to Vader at the end of Kenobi. It's like there's no point to hunting the Jedi anymore. There's not enough of them. Even like they're not potent enough to do anything. Like by devoting resources to them, you're giving them more power than they deserve. And I think that's what like the whole thing with like Ahsoka and Cal Calrissian is that like, yes, you have a handful of them doing their own thing, but you're not like, they're never going to be able to accomplish much. I think that's what makes the Luke thing so powerful, is that because of his connection to Anakin / Vader is what gives him his power in dismantling Palpatine's hold on Anakin.
Yeah, and I guess that's like it's just a real shame to me, like narratively speaking, that Ahsoka didn't bite the dust like prior to Return of the Jedi. At some point.
That's the thing, though. I don't think it matters. Like Ahsoka, like you said,
she's
like
just so much. She's just so much more powerful than Luke.
I don't think but again, but this goes back to like the reason why people are still upset about The Last Jedi is that like Luke is also not space Jesus. None of them are space Jesus.
Except for Ahsoka.
He was billed to be space Jesus.
No, that's cultural context seeping into the fabric of the story.
Which does make for very funny Christmas cards, I will say, when you put Obi-Wan on the card. It looks great. Like Jesus. But no, honestly, you wouldn't make the Ahsoka Space Jesus argument if it wasn't for the new show that the Tales of the Jedi, the first one. I mean, the first couple of them.
Also, the fact that she's important enough to like be talking to Rey from the grave in Episode 9, and like the fact that
so is Freddie Prinze Jr. So like that does not mean much.
Yeah, they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters for that. Because
so are they gonna move? Are they going to move that forward, though, since she's not a Jedi? Or is anyone ever going to be in a relationship again in Star Wars?
In Andor, they have relationships. It's crazy. It's off the rails. You know, the thing with the other interesting thing, the one interesting thing about the Ahsoka show that I find is, like, it looks like through flashbacks, you're going to have, like, either a different actress or a CGI Ahsoka voiced by Ashley Eckstein as, like younger version of Ahsoka, where she somehow morphs into Rosario Dawson at some point.
Tube top.
And that, so you're like, they're going for it. They're gonna do some Clone Wars live action flashbacks.
Like, well, that's where the money is right now. Like, even with the stupid Indiana Jones 5 trailer, like the best shot in that entire trailer is like de-aged Harrison Ford, and you look at that shot and like you're like, oh my god, like this does not look like an effect. This looks like 1980s Harrison Ford.
It does, and it does almost. I wanted to bring this up when you were talking about, they kicked over our droid, let's punch some space Nazis. So I was about to bring it back to Indiana Jones and be like, oh yeah, wait, why do people like Indiana Jones again? Oh yeah, he punched Nazis. There, let's get him back to punching some Nazis. Like, I watched that trailer. I don't want to get any spoilers or find anything, but I really have no idea what's going on. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and Indy's there. I have no idea what the plot of this is supposed to be.
I just wish they wouldn't have showed us Sala's entire role in the trailer.
He drops Indy off at the airport, and that's it.
Mark my words. Mark my words. That's it. You get that scene, and that's it.
Oh my god!
Is it something where he's going to go back to all the old spots? Are we going to see him with the ball again, or are we going to see him with? They're going to touch on all the things we like, except
I just want a flashback from the novel Indiana Jones and the Dinosaur Eggs.
Oh my! That's a deep cut. Okay, I every week I feel tempted to ask this: how are they going to write Mutt out of the movie? Are they going to itchy, scratchy, and poochy him where he had to go back to his home planet?
I'll tell you right now, he's going to write his dad a letter where he's like somewhere in South America because he was so entranced by Mayan culture that he like just moved down there and he has no access to telecommunications.
But did he like Mayan? But are they really gonna just be that ham-fisted with it, or are they gonna even try to like? Joe's just very defeated, nodding, just being like,
it's gonna be a sarcastic moment. It's like, he's probably swinging on vines, and he's gonna move on.
Not even a picture because they don't want to remind you.
He went to college. He's getting his third doctorate.
No, that's right. He's like Van Wilder. Yeah, he's been in college for 10 years. Yeah, but I think it'll be a letter, not even a picture, because they don't even want to remind you of his like.
They don't want to pay Shia LaBeouf any money. Period.
They don't want to make you think of the movie.
He got killed in Korea. I don't know where
they could do that.
I don't know. Maybe he was part of the JFK assassination. Like, I don't know.
Oh my god!
You're trying to figure out what they could do with it. Where the time period is in this. I think Crystal Skull was late 50s, maybe.
It was the CIA, Indy.
Off screen, he's gonna be done.
You remember that time that they abducted Indiana Jones in the middle of the night so he could look at the bodies from the Roswell crash?
I forgot that's a line of dialogue. Can we please there's got to be somebody out there that'll do like oh god, not knockoff, but just like unofficial like Indiana Jones novels, and it's like all these weird like Russ, there must be like a market for that, like conspiracy theory like events.
You don't even need unofficial ones.
There's a guy already. His name is Josh Gates. He actually goes out and does that. Expedition Unknown. He dresses like Indiana Jones. He goes out and looks for cryptids and monsters. That already exists.
Oh no. But I mean like no. But taking the IP of Indiana Jones and plugging it into like, oh god, like was it the Kecksburg like UFO incident?
I think the comics do that.
Like, that'd be great. Like
there's an official Indiana Jones comic wherein he rides a dragon.
That's so stupid though. Like I'm laughing, but it's stupid. Like it needs to be like, I don't know, like, oh god, Russ, you obviously you're the expert on all this. What is the incident? I haven't on tip of my tongue. I can't think of the name though. The one in Russia where like all the campers were like horrifically mutilated, like in that should be like sure. Indiana Jones should be taking care of that. That'd be great.
You're right. It was hypothermia. That's why he took their clothes off. And he figures it out, but then a monster attacks him.
Exactly.
And he has to whip.
Like that'd be great. Like you're telling me there's not a market for that? Like I guarantee you like the three of us in like a 6-pack of beer could come up with probably a better script than this 5th Indiana Jones movie.
That's true, man. I could just put all the cryptids on a dartboard and throw it at it. All right. Indy's go to this country to find this guy.
Well, the abominable snowman of Tibet is already canon in Indiana Jones. So it was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's like a footprint cast in the bar. So
exactly,
there's an option.
The Ohio Grassman. He just goes to the most mundane city in like the Midwest, and it's like, I'm gonna figure this one out, Marion. Like. It writes itself.
Yeah, and there's tons of them.
Like, okay, just real quick, just going to Harrison Ford, just like being like a grumpy old man. What do we think now that he's gonna be part of the Marvel machine? Like, he's gonna be Thunderbolt. I know this is more of a Zenger topic, but like Thunderbolt Ross, like we're getting like Harrison Ford, who does not care, is going to replace oh god, what's his name? Oh my god, I almost said Thunderbolt.
The guy who's been playing Thunderbolt Ross since the Ed Norton.
Yeah,
Ed
oh
Norton
god,
version.
Joe. Okay, Joe's got to put his headphones back in.
It's not Sam Elliott, is it?
Yeah, it is Sam Elliott.
Oh my god,
no, it's a guy who looks like him.
Not Sam.
Oh, the guy who died. The Sam Elliott was the first version of him, right?
That was Joe, who played
William Hurt. William Hurt.
Thank you.
William Hurt.
Joe. Oh my god.
Grab the dragon by the tail.
Wow.
That's a hardcore flex right there, Joe.
Oh, Joe's got.
This is why this needs to be a video show. Look for that maybe in the future. We do need to.
Post that in the group, Joe, before we forget. Joe's got OG Indiana Jones comics where he does way dumber stuff than even in Crystal Skull.
They need to put the giant book of those comics out, then I'll buy them.
I'm sure that exists.
All right, now this is. I know this is not official media, but Joe's got all these great Indiana Jones comics. I'm getting very jealous of seeing.
Oh man, that's where you got. They should have just literally just made the script from those comics and animated the whole thing like Avatar.
Wait, now he's holding up Mutt Williams comics. These look bootleg. Did you draw these yourself, Joe? Where did these come from?
Spoilers.
They're AI art.
Oh my, yeah, that's great. There we go. Now we figured it out. Now I know I'm doing for the rest of the night. But okay,
Mutt Williams, Indiana Jones writing to Mutt Williams, is that going to be
on a dragon?
AI prompt.
Okay, to bring this back to Star Wars and just the weird sort of black hole we're in for Star Wars content, both in a good way and a bad way. I feel like Chris would be a great one to answer this first. Which do you think we'll get first? That Knights of the Old Republic redo, or any Star Wars movie?
The game's never happening, so a movie.
Okay. I'll swap out. Which do we get first? A Star Wars movie or Star Wars Eclipse?
Eclipse.
So the game that has a tentative release date of 2027, we will be getting first.
Versus movies that have no tentative release date.
A movie that doesn't even have a script yet.
Yeah. But then again, that's how Force Awakens got set up. Here's a date from Bob Iger. Figure it out, guys. I don't care that it's literally like the most important movie ever. You have 600 days. Go.
That's how all quality entertainment is made. Here is a date. Good luck. Isn't that how they made Alien Cubed? It was like, here's your poster and date. Figure it out. On Earth, no one can hear you. On Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
The difference there is that like the stakes were a lot lower, you know? Like it's just like that series had already pretty much said everything it had to say. But I mean, you could say that about Star Wars for sure by the time episode 7 comes out. But you know, like I'm just saying, like you could have Bob Iger be like, I'm back on the job. Maybe that date already exists internally, and like here's when the next movie's coming out, and he'll go through 3 or 4 directors and they waste half the time, and then finally they'll agree on somebody, and he'll have a year to do it.
Maybe. I don't know, because I don't even know, because when's Celebration London? Is that April? I think
it's March, actually. I should check that.
It's March? Okay. Yeah. It comes out around the same time as Jedi Survivor. So, like, they have to announce something, right? Or is it just going to simply be like, here's Skeleton Crew?
You're going to see something May the 4th.
Oh.
Mandalorian will be on currently.
Wait, no, by May the 4th?
It's in March 1st or something.
Okay. How many episodes? Isn't there only 8 episodes per Mandalorian season?
So far, yeah. But there's literally no rules of any kind.
Fair. Well, no, I'm just want to see real quick. How many?
I mean, it depends if you count the Book of Boba Fett as Mandalorian episodes, which it basically is.
Favreau might argue with that. Like, whoa, hold on now. I got my universe. I let him borrow my guy for an episode. That's about it.
Okay. Does Boba Fett show up in Mandalorian season 3?
Absolutely.
Worse, does he get more Boba Fett episodes?
There's more Boba Fett in Mandalorian season. Like, it becomes the weird inverse. Like, eventually Din Djarin becomes Boba Fett, and Boba Fett becomes the Mandalorian.
As God intended it always, as Space Jesus intended for them to eventually, for Boba Fett to actually be Boba Fett instead of being Boba Fett that we saw.
Yeah, it's like Boba Fett is a creed. You know, somebody else just steals his costume and it's just good enough. Just like what's his name from the like comically Western town on Tatooine? Who plays Boba Fett for a weekend?
Cobb Vanth, sure. I have a great T-shirt it's Cobb Vanth in the Boba Fett costume, and it says The Mandalorian above it. It is the most confusing shirt ever. I'm waiting for someone to call me on and be like, "That's not the Mandalorian." It's like, oh, I know.
Another bootleg product, Russ. Wow.
I know. I'm going to wear that shirt and bring my episode 2 lunchbox with the fake scene of Dooku and Anakin fighting on it.
And the mug. You're drinking out of the one thermos as you have the mugs in the other hand as you're wearing the shirt.
I'm going to do that. That's where I'm be at Celebration London. Look for me.
Yeah. I'm like 50-50 whether I'm going to go at this point, but if I can get a free ticket, I'll go. I have a couple of possibilities.
Oh, you're Canadian, right? You guys are all connected. I'm sure they'll let you over there.
It's just as much work as it would be for you at this point, obviously. You know, it's pretty far.
No, but you also actually work with a lot of great UK Star Wars guys and podcasters and collectors, Vintage Rebellion and all those guys.
Yeah, if they get a table, I will probably go just because you know, those exhibitor badges are like, I had an exhibitor badge for the last 2 celebrations. I've never gone to a celebration without an exhibitor badge. I don't think I could do it now. Too much lines.
I would like to hear Zack's or Joe, your reaction to listening to an episode of Generation Skywalker. It's a British Star Wars podcast where if they start every show talking about all the stuff they've bought in the last week. It's just every episode is insane. We're like, are these guys millionaires? Wow. They're like, well, I picked up this and this and this and this. Every episode. It's great. It's a bunch of British guys. Oh, it's fantastic. Got these great erasers. They were like 20 of them from 1979, and could take 300-400 quid, but worth it. For the thing every week. It's great.
You have to get through like 8 hours before you can even understand them, and then all of a sudden you'll be or
learn that it's not just one guy talking to himself. Like, oh, these are different guys.
Yeah, the accent dissolves in your brain after about 8 hours. Before that, you can't understand them.
That's my plug, Generation Skywalker. And there's a guy on there who's a Ray collector, bro, like the British version of me. And I tried to even reach out to him, and he ignored me. So I'm like, all right.
Oh, geez.
We're fighting.
You messaged Pete, and he didn't respond to you. I'm going to get on his case. But that's vintage.
Of course, Chris is on a first name basis with this individual.
Well, that's Vintage Rebellion, not Generation Skywalker. But your confusion is understandable.
Oh my god, what I am such a novice right now.
The British guys, they're one thing.
Oh my god. All right, is there anything else about Andor that everybody seems to love so much, yet like as a Star Wars touch point we've already forgotten, both on this episode and as Star Wars fans at large?
I haven't forgotten.
I mean, it kind of makes you proud to be into Star Wars a little bit for me. Like, I'm like, this was well done. There's nothing I'm cringing at going, why do I even like this stupid thing anymore? Like,
is there one character in all of Andor that's as memorable as Rogan? Like, as much as Chris hates Rogan, he's memorable because he's just like the equivalent of the bus driver, like taking the kids like on the field trip. Like,
I didn't really think about that guy until I heard Chris talk about how his ship has no he has no deck on the ship. I don't know what he's flying with this little panel on the wall. The guy makes no sense. That whole thing, I didn't even think about any of that because of all the other nonsense going on during Obi-Wan. But I appreciate Chris pointing that out. And hey, in this, at least the band leader flies the ship. And there's an actual cockpit involved and everything at the end of Andor. So that's a plus.
Luthen is worth like 10,000 Rokins.
Is that how we start defining character worth? How many Luthens there were?
Like, no, well, I mean, it's like if they both had their own, like Luthen and his ship could easily defeat 10,000 Rokins.
I have a feeling that Luthen and that ship could have single-handedly taken down the Death Star. I feel like if they just told that guy, like,
I'm telling you, he's Bruce Wayne, he's Batman, he is that of Star Wars. He's just like the old man.
Exactly. Like Galen Erso should have been like, Luthen, I put a thermal exhaust port that can, if you shoot a proton torpedo down, it will rupture the this, and he would have been like, done. Like I really feel like.
Got it. Directed by Gareth Edwards. The end.
Pretty much. Like,
kind
I
of.
feel like, again, Luthen single-handedly pretty much disabled not the equivalent of like an Imperial Star Destroyer, but like pretty darn close.
The closest thing to a Spaceballs ship we might get in a Star Wars show. It sounds like that radar dish is a little ridiculous. Like, no, they need that. Okay.
There's only one person who would raspberry me.
That's the ultimate. Now you feel like Han is kind of like a dingus because like all you have to do is release like a case of ball bearings anytime someone gets you in a like tractor beam, and it will just like wreck their ship. I guess it's kind of like resisting the police when they try and pull you over, though. Like after you've really committed once you unleash the ball bearings, so like, you better be ready to run.
Well, we know that you can't. It's hard to replace things on the Falcon, like escape pods and everything else. So he probably did it at some point, and he's like, "Well, I don't have those anymore." I'm like, Chewie, you got any more of those? He's like, "No." That's
what he tried to do when he was boarded, and he had to like dump his like cargo for Jabba. Like that's what the incident was.
He thought it would like fall in their radar dish. Like, haha. And they're like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Star Destroyers have tractor beams, right?
Yeah, that's how the Tantive 4 gets captured. Yeah,
the blockade runner.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Clearly.
Oh, I thought they disabled that. No, I guess they had to get them first. Yeah, you're right. They had that giant radar inside the ship. They just you didn't get to see it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, was that giant comical radar dish actually a critical component of a tractor beam? I guess that's what they're implying in Andor.
And that's why that ship is never seen again thereafter.
Like we really have to upgrade this. We've got guys in shuttlecrafts and basically Winnebagos throwing rocks at us, knocking our tractor beams out. We gotta. I know the Death Star is important, but like we fix like our normal policing of space that we're trying to do here.
Immediately phased out after that incident. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Like Chris said, we see that ship in the deleted scenes for Solo. Like that's how like Solo gets like court-martialed in the Empire. Is there a chance that's the exact same ship? There was only one of them, and Luthen destroyed it. Like it's like the prototype, and he destroys it. Like it's the Titanic of Imperial vessels. On its first mission, it just gets immediately disabled, and it's like.
Solo was being taken out of that ship like immediately before that happened. Like he's court-martial, get him out of here, and that shuttle's leaving as Luthen is blowing.
Yeah, it's going
up,
to.
If only that tractor beam dish were entirely cosmetic.
Oh my god!
And I will say, speaking of giant dishes, I will admit I did go back and watch the last 2 episodes of Andor before we did this, and I did forget that there is an after credit scene. I don't know if I even watched it the first time because it's not that memorable, but you do get that closure of what exactly were those guys building that whole time that was so important. And then you see little bug droids crawling around, putting those pieces together, and of course, it's the Death Star. Joe's looking at me like, wait, there's an after credit scene? Like, wait.
I was talking a lot of crap about that scene on our last recording, but I think I said it was literally garbage. But you know what would have been like if they needed to tell the audience something obvious with an after credit scene, maybe they could have shown Kino's dead body after he starved to death after like 2 months of not being able to swim. That would have been a better after credits sequence.
Or Kino crawling around, putting those pieces together. Like, I'm still out here working these. I'm sticking with this till the end with a helmet on.
No, he's got a lot of those little cells that he could just go in and get that yogurt out.
Yeah, he's the last guy there.
He's sitting there taking everyone's rations. He's like, all I want. It's all mine.
The Imperials show back up, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't really agree with the escape plan. I just wanted to stay here and not get in trouble."
Like, I actually tricked them all into jumping into that water. They're all dead. They can go down and get them. Like, well, thank you, Kino.
Imagine an after credit scene where
they're all just floating there.
They recollect the Imperials recapture the prison, right? And Kino's the only guy working. What a great after credits sequence that would be. Oh man,
thousands of people were just bossing him around to make those things. He's running to every station competing against himself.
Just the shop floor with only him.
My quota's fulfilled.
Oh, that would have been great.
I'm the best one you got.
Now see, it's too, that was the original plan, but they're like, that's too dark, guys. Come on, stop that.
That's if it was 5 seasons instead of however many they have now. Too.
Yeah.
Like, we told you we should have gotten droids.
Well, it was supposed to be 5 originally, right? Like, I remember reading about that.
Yeah. And you could actually tell it was supposed to be longer because those last couple episodes, they started actually almost shortening how things were.
It's almost like,
faster
as a culture, we forgot how to make a 24 episode series.
How long was he in that, like, chronologically?
I think like 3 months.
Like, was he in there 6 months, 3 months or something? I was gonna say maybe they could use that as a good time jump, but I guess they didn't.
Well, I saw something. I think based on I think it was on Marva's like sort of like brick tombstone where they sort of reference. It might be the first time they reference like the actual year in Star Wars, and it's like the way it lined up, it was like there's a year on Marva's tombstone brick that corresponds to being like 5 years before a year where the last 2 digits are 77. So like Star Wars, like A New Hope, takes place at something 77 in Star Wars universe, but it's not 19, but it's something 77. Interesting touch that they actually like specified an actual year in Star Wars,
like 8372 or something.
Interesting. So it's like what's the beginning of the accepted calendar in the Star Wars universe? Like, what was it?
The first life day, of course.
Yeah, there's the first life day 8,000 years ago. Yeah.
All these Wookiees are dead.
Sorry, Wookiees.
Madness, sheer madness.
Good stuff.
It's good to be back. Thank you.
I will say that, like, the one thing I did just to bring this back to Kino and like the thing of I can't swim. It reminded me of that again. This is another thing where Zenger would appreciate, like that bit from The Simpsons where like the girl's like in the gymnasium, like up like high, like holding on to the bars, and she's like, "Hello, Mrs. Pommelhorse, I'd like to get down now, please." Like, she's just hanging up there. Like I just. Like, am I the only one that during that whole Kino thing at the end where he's like, I can't swim, I'm like, just like blank this show. I'm like, this again, it's so thematically hollow outside of just Empire bad. Like, I just don't know. I just like I did.
Well, it's not though. But it's the least bad the Empire's ever been.
Is it? It's like the Empire. It's most like kind of just like. Like they just don't care.
It's the most relatable, realistic depiction of the Empire like ever.
Well, yes,
sure.
but this is like, again, this is what makes Star Wars. Like, I remember once there was a Pablo Hidalgo like Twitter thread where he's like comparing.
That's your first problem, but go ahead.
Well, okay, whatever. But he brings up a valid point. He's like, have you ever thought about how like, oh God, what was his rank? Gergerod? What is he? Moth. Okay. And you think about him, like, he just does, like, he cares about his job, and that's, like, he cares about it the same way, like, an administrator cares about their job. He's just like, I need more men. And then, like,
he's a foreman.
Exactly. And he's just like, you juxtapose him to, like, Tarkin and Krennic and Thrawn, and, like, he's just an administrator. Like he does not care about anything on a larger scale. He's just like, I'm given a deadline, and that's the extent of his commitment to this.
Yeah, but the universe wasn't fleshed out enough to point out that guy clearly shouldn't have been a Moff. Because, like, first of all, Moffs don't have to wear stupid hats. Clearly, that is evident in the rest of Star Wars canon. And secondly, he's clearly not making any decisions besides getting the Death Star delivered on time. So I think that the ranks just weren't established.
I think that's the evolution of Vader, though, over those 3 films, is that, like, he was kind of, like, almost shoulder to shoulder with a lot of those guys in A New Hope. And by Empire, as he's strangling everybody around him, they're just like, all right, well, no one's really going to take any kind of big lead in anything. Just say yes, we need more guys, we'll do it, whatever. Stay alive.
But that's what makes Star Wars so fun and clunky, is that, like, you have an evil space wizard at the head of, like, this huge bureaucracy, and it's like, like, think about it, like, Tarkin clearly was the head of the bureaucracy. Like, I know even in some of the comics they make that abundantly clear. Like, Vader was the enforcer, basically. Like, again, Vader was the Gestapo. And
I love where you're going with this. Like, I so badly want to see to what degree Palpatine is engaged in the minutia of, like, the running of the galaxy.
I don't think he probably doesn't know. Like again, I can't imagine Palpatine's probably taking a nap half the time, and so, like, he doesn't care just to keep everybody bored.
You know what I mean? Like, does he become, like, addicted to smoking, or, like, just, like, watching videos? Like, what is he like? What?
He just talks to the ISB guy. The ISB guy actually mentions the Emperor and stuff. I kind of like that towards the end of Andor too. The Emperor got a couple little mentions, barely got any mentions, but, you know, yeah, he's got the Imperial security guys out there doing stuff. He's got his eyes everywhere. He's got probe droids. He's got Vader. He doesn't need these top diplomats, I guess. They've already, like, well, we made a Death Star once with Tarkin and Krennic and all them. We can do it again. We don't need that.
I just love it because, like, you know, the beautifully prophetic opening 2 pages of Alan Dean Foster's adaptation of the A New Hope script says that the Emperor, like, is just out of touch, and, like, his lackeys are running the show, and he doesn't pay attention to anything anymore. Like, that's in the first 2 pages of the Star Wars novelization, that he's, like, just, like, totally disconnected from the goings on of the galaxy.
Once you kill the Jedi, you can take a couple decades off, right? It's like, look, I mean, come on, Yoda, he's defeated if he's even out there. Obi-Wan, Vader, get him out of your head. I know he's probably out there. Who cares? Vader, we got stuff to do. That was the one moment where we did get to see Emperor being a little hands-on, going, hey, buddy, right here. Snap out of it. Don't worry about that guy. You're messing stuff up. It's not that important.
Yeah, you forget that he literally saw Yoda escape too, and he's not worried about it.
But that's what I mean, though. I think, like, that's what, again, the thing with Luke Skywalker is that Luke Skywalker's power is not derived from him being Space Jesus. It's his power is derived from, this is the one person that can, like, take the Emperor's ultimate enforcer and turn him to the light side. I think that's where Luke's power comes into all this. It's not a, like, a divine power that's bestowed upon him. I think it's just, again, it's the whole family thing.
Right, but when Lucas made those 2 movies, he was the only Jedi left, and it would have been weird in Luke's mind if there were other Jedi monkeying around.
He just happened to set something up that worked out well, yes.
I know, then Lucas decided to have children and decided to make Vader the tragic hero.
Anakin is the tragic hero in the original trilogy, too. It's not
really.
It's all there, no, man.
The whole point of Return of the Jedi is that the son redeems the father of his sins. And then when you go back to the prequel, when he makes the prequel trilogy, it's that no, the father was not evil.
But the father has to die.
He did all the right things, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Or free will doesn't exist, but either way.
Sure. Tomato. But, and that's the thing that makes, again, you have to, and then like everybody gets mad about Disney's involvement with this, but I think if you look at the sequel trilogy relative to what I just stated, and you take Rey as the encapsulation of Disney Star Wars, it's somebody trying to graft their name onto the lineage. And so it works in that sort of guise, I think.
It's so amazing to me that like every time someone says a sentence like you just did, it's like
Rey Skywalker.
All at once I remember the sequel trilogy exists.
In the best way.
You can't escape from it, Chris. It is what it is.
There will be another trilogy. All the same. This is all still going on, and I know we've talked about major announcements, and I do think they are either this year or next. They will announce that it might be 3 or 4 years off, but they will announce that they will keep the franchise going away from TV, away from cartoons. They will go back and find some way to do it,
and we can thank Avatar 2 for that.
Hell yeah, Jimmy C. Hell yeah. But like again, I would say probably no later than 2030, you'll probably get the episode 10 announcement.
Oh, come on. No, come on, man. It got to be before that.
They have to. I would be shocked if don't be surprised. Don't be surprised, like, come 2025 that we don't get the episode 10 announcement. Because they're going to figure that there's money there. You wait and see.
It's way sooner than it sounds, Russ.
I think it's sooner. It'll come out 26, 27. I think the announcement will come within a year or so.
What they're going to do is they're going to announce it in 2025 with an estimated arrival date of like 2028.
That's the Star Wars we like the best. Is the one where they throw all the money at it. All the money is on the screen. All the big movies again, and it'll be even crazy.
What do you guys think about like Daisy Ridley posting that she was like having a meeting at Lucasfilm?
My heart skipped a beat.
I'm excited. Can't wait.
Thank you, Russ.
But look, dude, this whole season I could only find a Rey bookmark. Like, Rey, you got to give her some more Rey stuff out there. There's nothing out there. They have dried up the sequel trilogy. As someone who is always on the lookout for Rey stuff, I mean, yeah, you see BB-8.
Russ, did you see there like Amazon has an exclusive like Funko Pop of Rey from the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker, her like meditating?
No, I have not seen that. I'll have to look.
Yeah, it comes out I think next month. Okay. I pre-ordered it like 3 months ago, so I'm excited.
Nice.
I would be into like a theatrical post-sequel trilogy movie if it's like not called Episode 10.
Rogue Squadron, directed by Patty Jenkins.
Well,
Rey Squadron, directed by Rus.
I mean, even though Rey would clearly be the best fighter pilot, so she would be in Rogue Squadron if there was such a thing. But no, I mean, like if there was it's like you got 2.5 hours. Do something interesting with Rey as just one movie. It would probably be way more interesting than the sequel trilogy. So I'd be into it.
She knows her way around an AT-AT, Rey AT-AT commander, and she's not in an X-Wing. She's just taking AT-ATs around very slowly. It'd be interesting. She gets them to run. I don't know. Those are scary.
They go fast now.
They go fast now, yes.
Pop some wheels on their roller skating on an AT-AT.
Can you imagine just like if the First Order at AT-ATs, which I forget what theirs are called, but imagine if like it looked exactly like an AT-AT, except for instead of legs, it just had like 4 repulsor lifts underneath, and you're like, too bad we got you this time, guys. You're not gonna be tripping us with cables. We got the exact thing, but it floats towards you like all of our other stuff.
The floating dogs, they're heading towards us.
That would have been funny.
Okay, but going back to the ones from the First Order AT-AT walkers, so I think they're called like I forget what they're called, but they have like on the like shin plates, like those things like when you go into like parking lots and they don't want you like paid parking lots when you leave, they have like the reverse like spikes on them so you can't get in. I like how like whoever did a design of that built those into like the shin plates. So if you try putting a cord around it, it would immediately be like severed. Like again,
I did not notice that. That's funny.
Horrifically goofy that like that's in a $250 million Star Wars movie. They paid someone probably like a 6-figure salary for that.
They had a meeting about after Hoth. The Empire definitely had a meeting about. Hold on, now there's definitely a design flaw here. Now we are known for some embarrassing design flaws, i.e. Death Star.
Ball bearings.
Anyway, forget it. We cannot have our giant metal dogs being taken down by ropes in the snow planet. This is not good. We can make these better.
And what's so funny is that like it only happened to 2 of them. Like Chris, you probably know how many AT-ATs were there at the Battle of Hoth? Like what, over a dozen probably?
I think it either shows 3 or 4 at once. That's it.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I don't mean like physically in the movie, but I mean like I imagine there's some canon book that probably says specifically how many were present during the land battle.
Yeah, but there's that, you have the iconic binocular shot where like the guy's looking like at them way in the distance,
3.
and it's only 3 or 4. Like if there was a bunch, you'd probably see him in that shot.
What you would presume they were deployed from the Superstar Destroyer, right?
They're really expensive, Zach.
But like in Rebels, like they have the Thrawn has like the, I guess, the earlier model of them, and like Kanan just like cuts their legs in half. Like it's that simple. Like a lightsaber can just kind of cut through them like a hot knife through butter. It's like, this seems also like a horrific design flaw.
Even in Battlefront, it takes a while to take them down with a lightsaber, as anyone who's played the Hoth level there. But
yeah, no, but I mean, that's just that's nonsense done after the fact by zealots.
I think, but isn't that what Star Wars is at the end of the day? Like nonsense created by zealots after the fact. Isn't that what all of this is?
yeah, that's what makes Last Jedi so fun. Bringing up the any kind of AT-ATs or walkers or anything. Like the Last Jedi, that's all great. We are built up to think that that Luke is going to take on the Empire all by himself. And what greater personification of the Empire than Kylo Ren yelling for all his AT-ATs to just shoot immediately over and over and over, and then finding out it's such a ruse. It's great fun.
Yeah, that was good.
That was great.
That was good. But then you have, but before that, you have 5 or 6 like roided out Kylo Ren AT-ATs, all sort of walking towards the door, and Poe and Rose are just sitting in front of them for like 10 minutes. And they're the only thing on the battlefield. They're just sitting there. These AT-ATs are walking towards them, and not a single shot is fired. It's really remarkable.
What do you mean, like in the ski speeders?
Yeah, like Rose and Finn are just chilling out there for a while, and just like,
okay. To be fair, at that I get what your point you're making, but like they're using the Death Star tech to blow a giant hole like in the shield door, and then like they already blew it up. Like they didn't, like they're not going around like, this isn't like World War II where they were trying to shoot people like parachuting out of planes. Like if they already shot it down, they figured they're dead.
yeah. Do you remember in Empire Strikes Back, that obscure film where after the shield generator is blown up, an AT-AT specifically picks off 2 or 3 separate individual men?
It's like some pot shots at a few guys. Treat Williams takes a pot shot and run around.
Like, I don't know. Maybe the First Order takes prisoners. I don't know.
Lame. All right.
Maybe they need stormtroopers. They need to recruit more of the galaxy.
Yeah, well, but all this to say, I swear Andor was definitely good, and just because Zack didn't want to talk about it in when it was recent and fresh doesn't mean that it's not good.
Hey, who wants to talk about that when Disney swaps out CEOs? Like, come on, we all know one's infinitely more important to Star Wars at large than the other.
I was going to say, people are swapping out CEOs. People are swapping out crappy toys in boxes with no plastic on it. Like, lots of stuff's getting swapped out. There's a lot of important Star Wars topics going on. And Andor is still the most recent Star Wars thing. Maybe not. Maybe Tales of the Jedi came out after. Who knows? I don't think so. Around the same time. But it's important to finish off Andor. I think it's good. I'm looking forward to season 2. Did you guys actually think that K2SO would show up in this season? I was kind of shocked that we were not introduced to that whole arc at all in this.
I think that's going to be good to fill in the second season.
Yeah, they said he wasn't going to show up. They like straight up. They didn't want people crying that he didn't show up, so they just told everyone in advance.
So we put one in there so people who are casually watching it would be like, "Whoa, there he is!" And oh no, it's just another one.
It might be him.
Hey, I arrested you on that beach planet.
Remember that? That was good fun.
Yes, remember Christmas Vacation 2 where you're at the beach?
And then you went to jail for 3 months?
That was when there was one set of footprints. That's when I was arresting you.
It was with days.
Oh, God.
I was never going to wrap up, but do you still think like another like ignorant fan speculation that B2 Emo's consciousness will somehow be put into K2SO? Do you guys still think that's in the cards?
Oh my God, that's a thing?
That was a thing for a long time, yeah.
No, it's going to be put into Borgullet. And Borgullet will, that's what the Borgullet does, is to torture people by whining like BE Emo the entire time to them. And that was drives them crazy.
I didn't think that until B2 Emo survived season 1. So now I'm just not sure.
You always say that.
What if Roken shows up in season 2?
Yes, absolutely. Please.
As I said, Roken doesn't exist in the Gilroy verse.
That's the thing, though. Now, season 1 went off without a hitch with almost no one's hands on it except for Gilroy. Now that it's got some pull behind it, you don't think that the executors are going to sit there and muddy the waters?
Yes, they're going to ruin it, Joe, but let us enjoy nice things the one time they come along.
I'm getting Roken so confused with Andy Serkis. What's Andy Serkis' guy's name again? Kino. Yeah, Kino was all like, he's going to survive. And you were like, you said you can't swim. He's going to be like, I never said that.
Roken picked me up.
I don't know why I have that.
He's named after studio lighting equipment, by the way.
That's when you spend too much time at the green screen doing the CGI stuff where you're referencing the camera lighting gear. And of course, yeah. Chris would know this immediately.
There's no other Kinos in the world, so it's got to be it.
I thought it was named after a game.
I quit.
All right, so concludes this.
This has been fun. Too much fun.
Episode of Knights of Vader, a Star Wars podcast. Check out the Facebook group. Type in Knights of Vader into Facebook, and you will find us there waiting for you. At KOV Podcast on Instagram. Please follow it so Chris can sit there, do Chris things. He can tell you about how terrible Roken is and how great Kino is and how he is a not the worst swimmer. If you
ask me about Roken.
Yes, by all means, ask Chris about Roken. We should get Chris. We should get you a pin when you go to these like conventions and celebrations. Just ask me my feelings on Roken, and everyone's gonna be like, "What?
Roken, please take me to the cockpit." And you'll be like, "We're already here. It's wherever you want to be. I'm controlling this on my Star Watch."
Indiana Jones and Roken's starship layout.
If you like what you hear, please rate and review, subscribe to us on iTunes, or rate us on Spotify. We would appreciate it very, very much. As I was sending Chris, we actually got a new iTunes review, and it was very much just like, it was a very bland 1-sentence review. And it's like, this no good podcast. They suck. And it's like, well, that's not very elaborate.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Perfect. But if you too think that we do podcasts good, let us know so we can maybe atone for our mistakes. But as always, if you want to hear more from me, you can find me on Twitter at Cinemoddities. I know in the last episode we talked about me getting Twitter amnesty. I applied for amnesty. I did not get it because apparently, once again, I was banned for abusive conduct, and they still won't tell me what I did, but that was so abusive.
Zack is quite an edgelord on Twitter. I'll give you that, but we do look forward to you coming back.
I too, on my proper account, I had since summer of 2010. But when I am not begging for amnesty from Elon Musk, which sounds like a Star Wars character name, Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Chris Porteous on Instagram and in the Knights of Vader Facebook group and at KOV Podcast on Instagram. And I'm on Twitter in a variety of ways. There's not a Knights of Vader Twitter account, but I'm not banned on Twitter like Zack is. So you could find me on there too if you're
The KOV Twitter account was also banned during that whole time period.
Yeah, my regular Twitter account is not banned. So amazingly somehow, even though all the crap I talk about Roken, I haven't got banned on Twitter.
Not yet.
Interesting enough. Russ.
All right.
Not yet. Russ, what are you up to when you're not on here?
Just go check out Unbelievers Podcast. Go check that show out. And I'm going to make a bold statement here. And this is definitely Knights of Vader KOV related. I'm going to say by the time this comes out, go follow Knights of Vader on YouTube. We found a new place to get banned from. So there might be a Knights of Vader YouTube page. There'll probably be nothing there, but there will be soon. Spoilers.
Oh, and we're also going to participate in the 3rd annual Star Wars Podcast Day, which is just a bunch of shows that are posting an episode on February 7th. So you can follow them at Star Wars Pod Day on Instagram to see the other shows that are going to be posting a new episode on February 7th.
And Joe, what is happening in the world of Wheels and Combos?
Wheels and Combos. We just did a Christmas episode. We're next going to be doing cartoons and comics, hopefully within the next couple weeks, taking some time off for the holidays. But that's where you'll be able to find me.
Cool beans. Alrighty, good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Remember Alderaan! Down with the Empire!